Hey guys, my name is Angelo, and here's James right beside me, and today we're going to be doing a film review on the picture of Gladiator. This follows Maximus, a former commander, in his quest for vengeance against Commodus, battling his way throughout Roman Colosseums. Anyways, let's go on to talk about Russell Crowe, the best actor of his time. Showing determination, he played the part of Maximus with emotion. However, was it the emotion itself that put his acting off from fabulous to only just amazing? Well, in one scene, he mourns for the death of his wife and his son. Now, seeing that, has he been too over the top, let's say? Because if you notice that before, that it seems that after years of bloodshed, that none of that has gone to his conscience, and he hasn't built it up, and he hasn't built a wall around his mind. Well, saying that, yes, I do know that that is close family, but you've got to think that at least some of that bloodshed has went into his mind, and he's already gone past the mourning phase. And what do you think, James?
I think that he was a fabulous actor. At some parts he was, I don't know, kind of cringy, I guess, some parts.
Yeah. So just like the part when he was mourning, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. All right, let's move on to Joaquin Phoenix. Yes, his acting was impeccable. He did not shy away from his devilish character. And I only have one piece of criticism. At times, his vocalization did not match his evil plans. For example, like, just the way when he was planning to murder his sister during that scene, he kind of almost seemed a bit over the top, and if not, just a bit playful. And next up is going to be how it impacts people personally. Now, for me, a lot about good filmmaking is being relatable to the audience. Now, I'm not sure many of you have traveled back in time and fought in the Colosseum. However, I haven't. So this film being relatable probably isn't. It struggles and people's problems, maybe it is. Maybe you've been betrayed before, and that's something that is a bit more relatable to you. And we're looking at the fine details here. Sure, the story might not be relatable, but the trials that Maximus goes through is a very real case in our society as it is now. So yeah, those are some. Just looking at the story as a whole, it isn't very relatable. Looking at people, at the character's development, now that is really relatable to today's audience. Next up is cinematography. One of the most cringe-worthy techniques in film in history is the almost stop-motion, slow-motion scenes. Okay, I actually really don't like those types of scenes. Reason being, I think it takes the audience away from kind of like being into the film to just watching a film. That's kind of shown especially in the Gladiator scenes, when in the Colosseums when they're fighting, and you see a bunch of slow motion. It's just kind of, at that point, it's just kind of cheesy, it's a bit over the top, and it's been done way too many times and way too many scenes. I just think it should be cut out a bit more and just, add a bit more fluid stop motion. I know it's only the year 2000, but if you don't have the technology at the time, don't add it in. It's really pointless, and it's a cheap gimmick now. Anyways, another film mishap that made our heads turn was basically every battle scene. See, I know that each of these action scenes were meant to be action-packed and all that, but I think where the film got its most recognition is from the sort of meaningful moments, and when we slow down, actually get to learn about the characters. The character development is what really put this film over the top. See, now, in some of the battle scenes, all the camera does is really spin around in circles, really just standing still. Pretty certain that the cameraman just needed a break just to throw up. Anyways, when the camera finally did stop moving, we finally got to see the beauty in the set of Gladiator. For example, well, in the first scene, going against Germania, we saw just the beauty of just everyone clashing together. There was no big movements like in every Colosseum scene. So I think that's one of the techniques that Gladiator should have used a bit more often. Anyways, what's your take on the cinematography, James?
I think that also like you said in the beginning of the movie, I kind of found it cool how the Gladiator came when they were reversing Germania. They he came around and then chopped the guy in half and then stuck the sword and left the sword in the tree, meaning victory for us, I guess. Last stand, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyways, where the movie really makes its money is the soundtrack. Now, when you're getting a bit more character development, a bit more meaningful scenes, you get a bit more violin sounds, a bit more string instruments, and I think this is to emulate an angelic tone or a heavenish kind of tone to it. Whereas when you get the bass into it and the brass kind of instruments, that's when you get a bit more intense scenes and a bit more fighting and a bit more ruckus going on. And I think those two kind of complement each other well, and they have a nice little contrast between the soundtrack. And that's one thing that Gladiator does really well. Anyways, James, what do you think about the soundtrack?
I also think that when they fight, I think they have a really good tone of music to symbolize the violence that's going on and the fighting and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, now let's talk about the director, Ridley Scott. Are there any things that you think he excelled at really well, or some things that he could have done better in the directing of Gladiator?
No, how about you?
Well, personally, I think that he did an excellent job, since this is the best picture of the year 2000. Now, a few things like I mentioned, like camera techniques, or just variations of different people's emotions, I think he could have just overseen it a bit differently. However, I think overall, his overall director's choice is a great kind of scene. Although, even though Gladiators were in this entire thing is not as historic as some people would like it to be. However, that is up for people's decisions, and all the director's responsibility is to make a good story, and I think he really made a great story out of Gladiator. Anyways, as we wrap up here, I'm Angelo, and this is James over here. And thank you guys so much for watching this review. And yeah, Mr. Radke, I probably would have just rather done a little write-up, but that's alright. This is totally fine, and totally putting me out of my comfort zone. But that's alright. So thank you guys so much for watching this review in today's episode, and probably its last episode of Film Studies Review by Angelo and James with Pearl on the camera. Blooper, just keep rolling because I can cut it.
This will be funny.
Wow, what a name to live by. I'm going to cut that out.
No, don't.
End quote. A respectable man, an actor we love to hate. That respectable man is an amazing person, and he has drawn many joys to my life, aka Mr. Red, love you, okay? Cut that out.
Mr. Aki, he doesn't love you.
What? No. What? No. We're cutting that out. We're cutting that out.
Oh, we're putting that in the blooper reel.
I have an hour to cut this. Anyways, next up is cinematography. Not even a word. I don't even know. Don't zoom into my face. That looks sweet. Because Now, I'm just going to go off script for here because I absolutely hate those scenes. I wrote down here in my notes that it kind of takes away from the fast-paced action, causing our eyes to adjust the speed in which it's fine, it's all good, we're going to cut that out anyway.
Run away.
Each of the scenes here is supposed to be action-packed, but most of this... Sword123, aka my YouTube channel, because you just mentioned the sword.
Sir, what? You know what? I have a YouTube channel too.
I mean, you're welcome to stay here, but
I know I don't want to go outside, but
I'm just
it's
thinking,
so
better.
beautiful. Why don't you want to go outside?
I'm thinking sound quality.
Or you make this video?
Yeah, it's for film studies.
Taking a picture.
Yeah.
You ready?
There you go. Anyways, and let's talk about the director's choices. Are there any director choices that you think that he has excelled at? Because the director
Ridley Scott.
Because the director. Okay.
And go.
What should I say in the outro?
We'll say
Yeah,
bye
What do you
bye.
want me to say in the outro?
I don't know.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this review. I was gonna say JackSepticEye.
He was gonna say.
If you liked it, punch that like button.
We're not putting it on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you like it, give us a name, Mr. Arky.
Thank you guys so much for watching this review. And yeah, Mr. Radke, I probably would have just rather done like a little write-up, but that's alright. This is totally fine and totally putting me out of my comfort zone. But that's alright. So thank you guys so much for watching this review in today's episode. And probably its last ever episode of Film Studies Review by Angelo and James with Pearl on the camera.
Okay, we're cutting that.
Anyway,
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
goodbye. Just say no and then how about you? So I'll cut that and just say just no, how about you?
Okay. No, how about you?